Looks like we have another quadratic equation to solve, and I'm going to do this using the quadratic formula, and you can see the steps for that are kind of laid out below. What we're going to need if we're going to solve this quadratic formula is we're going to need to know what a, b, and c are, so we can plug them into this equation. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2a. Hopefully you know that formula by now. So let's talk about that equation up top, because if you're jumping right into what a, b, and c are right now, you're probably making some mistakes. For one thing, this isn't equal to 0, and I'm going to need to do just a little bit of cleanup work at the beginning. I'm going to add 5 squared to each side. And the reason I choose 5x squared instead of 4 as the thing I'm going to move over is because I have a personal preference for making sure that, let me write this in a way that makes sense. I'm going to have 0 on the left. I have a personal preference for making sure that my x squared term, whatever it is positive. I just like equations looking like that. Doesn't mean you'd be wrong if you did it the other way. You could say negative 5x squared minus 4 if you want to bring the 4 to the left side, and that'll be fine. But there's also something a little weird about this. What's the b? Like, what do I put in for the b part of this? And I want you to think about it this way. Imagine that we've got a little more room in here, and I insist that you write what x is. Okay, so how many x's do we have? Well, there's none, right? It was just blank. So you could say x equals 0. That's going to be just fine. Let's talk enough about this. Let's put in our a, b, and c values. So a is 5. Okay, b is this next one. It's how many x's you have, which if it's blank, you can just say 0. You don't need to write it out like I did. And then the number at the end, that's c. That's my value 4. So we plug those into our equation, and let's see what this turns into once I plug these in. The b's are going to be kind of quick to calculate because they're just 0. And then I have a couple a's in here. Okay, great. Let's start simplifying this down. The zeros are very easy to deal with. Okay, that's going to be a 0. On the bottom, I have 10 from this guy. Okay, that was quick. I want to be a little careful when I plug in this stuff into the calculator. I'm going to type the discriminant, okay, and that's all the stuff inside the square root that I'm highlighting right now. I'm going to type that in very carefully, because any mistakes made on this part right here inside the square root are really tough. It generally just makes your whole problem go wrong, and you have to start over, which is frustrating. But here's what I get. I just plugged that into my calculator, and my calculator said negative 80. Now, if you've been around the block a few times with the quadratic formula, you see a negative inside the square root, and you think, oh, great. Well, here we go. These are not normal numbers. You can't take the square root of a negative and have it turn out real. It's going to be imaginary. So let's break that one down over here. First of all, I need a factor tree for 80 because that's not a nice square root. And that's going to turn into 2 and 40. 40, you know what, I'll just do 4 and 10. 4 is 2 and 2. 10 is 2 and 5. So there I have all my primes. And that means the square root of 80 equals 2 times the square root of 10. No, something doesn't seem right about that. Something seems kind of... Oh, I forgot a 2. I forgot a 2 up here. So let's circle all those 2's. That's the end of a factor branch. And then all these things are the ends of factor branches. So that's actually a 20 right there. Okay, which means I can simplify that a little more. I have 2 pairs of 2. So this is going to be 4 square root 5. So sorry for the delay. Now I'm not dealing with square root of 80. I'm dealing with square root of negative 80. Which means this is 4i square root 5. It's the imaginary number we've talked about a bunch of times. So this is going to be plus or minus, right? I don't need to write the 0. Plus or minus 4i square root 5 divided by 10. Now that simplifies a little bit, and you can see this 4 is going to partially cancel out and become a 2, and the 10 partially cancels out and becomes a 5. So that's my answer. It's plus or minus, and you can write plus or minus right in the computer, or you can use commas to separate it. It's going to be 2i square root 5 divided by 5.